One of the main benefits of saving characters from previous levels is that they will give you free gas at the beginning of this one. Except that deadbeat, he just hops around. And Cute Hip gives us a little bit too. And there'd most likely be one more here if I'd saved whoever needed to be saved in Las Vegas, but that's the breaks. And these little boogers all swarm off screen and decide to ignore Deppy to go to nightmare amalgam of every Mega Man sub-boss ever. Bad Head. And his head is so bad, in fact, that it's the only weak spot on his body. And this is the point in the game where you really start to appreciate the fact that they don't use a conventional power system, because you'd probably be dead about 5 times over. And like any Japanese final boss worth his salt, Bad Head has several final forms. He uses that crazy laser on about every single form. This one specifically is all about bringing those bulldozer things down on your head. And as you can plainly see, I don't always have the lightning reflexes that I need to dodge a laser blast to the face while somebody's throwing a flaming stick from behind me and dropping an anvil on my head at the same time. Form number 2 is all about wrecking balls on sticks. And depending on where you're watching this video, if you look at the amount of time left, you'll notice this dude probably has a lot of stuff crammed up his robot cavity. And you know, as has been said in the thread, I guess at some point I was supposed to have been in a race, and it's kind of hard for me to say whether the enemies were part of the Tryrush rally or not. Maybe it's a triathlon thing, you know, running, killing, star collecting. But I guess since I did the most killing, beating this last boss is all up to me by myself. They just play by different rules, I guess, in the world of living cars. And that takes care of form number 2. And the third form here is spiked steamrollers, which are also projectiles. This form is definitely the hardest to beat. It's really tricky to actually jump over the steamrollers as he shoots them at you, so you only have a few ways to actually hit him in the head. You can bounce on an enemy at the exact moment before he shoots the steamrollers at you to dodge them, or you can let the steamrollers hit you, then use the little bit of invincibility that you have to hit him in the head. But to do either one of those, you have to dodge the anvils, the fire sticks, the laser beams, the red guys who electrocute you. So we're going to be here for a while. Which gives me a little bit of time to talk about something I've been thinking about this entire game, and it's come out in some of my previous Deppy commentaries. What is the physical makeup of these cars? I would feel a lot more comfortable knowing this game was just like a bleak look at Earth's future after the rise of the machines. But you know, looking at how emotional these cars get, and the fact that they experience love and jealousy and pain and all these human emotions, makes me worried that they're actually made of flesh and bone. Which would be really creepy. Could you imagine if they got into a wreck or had a flat tire and started to like bleed or have scabs? Or what if those giant headlight eyes were actually soft retinas that had bugs flying into them? You know, the odd part is I don't have the same problem with Transformers, who are just as human, if not more so than the Deppy characters, because we actually hear their voices. But I think since Transformers don't really squash and stretch as much, plus they make that sound which makes them sound, you know, even more metal, I don't really have the same worries about it. Although looking at this game carefully, it could take place after the Decepticons win the Spark Wars on Earth. Now you might say to yourself about the flesh and bone theory, you know, the Deppy seems to keep his shape indefinitely, and his pain only seems to ever translate into a loss of gas. But I say to you, you know, we can't apply this to the other cars. We never see them ever go for gas, and even when they stay locked inside of a cage with no way out for a long period of time, they don't ever melt down like Deppy does, you know. And the whole concept of a vitality meter that needs to be constantly refilled is kind of weird anyway. I mean, Master Higgins from Adventure Island, he only had that for like one game. After that, he got over his need to, you know, eat fruit constantly or die. You know, and is this constant need for gas is like a race mode for these cars? They have a special mode where they only need gas? Because otherwise, I mean, are they walking around the city, doing their shopping, picking up their laundry, going on dates in a constant fear of dying from gas depletion? I mean, it's one thing to have a biological need for sustenance, but when your metabolism tells you that you're starving every 2 minutes, something's wrong. And maybe that's the plot to this whole thing, you know? Maybe there's a secret cabal of hybrid cars that control the gas distribution along the quote-unquote roadway, and the Tryrush Rally is like the perfect cover to take them out one by one, to free the gas for the people, you know? But the main reason I think these cars might be flesh and bone, or at the very least mammals, is that they have boobs. Now, female transformers like RC and Black Arachnia seem to already have boobs straight out of the Allspark, even before they take any other forms, which is stupid enough. But in Deppy, the boobs are so prominent that some of the girls, you know, cars dress slutty to show them off, which leads me to believe that they're actually genuine secondary sex characteristics, which is the one and only reason I'm glad that Deppy never became popular anywhere really, is that there's not fan art, there's not fan comics. It's the only thing to which Rule 34 does not apply, unless somebody decides to piss me off on purpose. Even despite what I've been saying, all these crazy car sex jokes I've been making throughout these videos, I am glad that, as of me saying this, that your deviant art, that your Google image search are still safe from the scourge of Tryrush Deppy porn, which, like a shithead, I've probably now jinxed. And really, folks, don't do that stuff. Leave that to Gadget Hackwrench and Babs Bunny, please. And at long last, number 3 is down. Form number 4 are the good old-fashioned burn and freeze guns, which we saw in the earlier levels. And thank God we're going by cartoon logic, so, you know, getting fried or frozen or electrocuted can be shaken off real quick, so you can live to kill your enemies. Speaking of which, you know a cartoony game is really good for no reason whatsoever? Open Season for Game Boy Advance. It's a platformer based on that terrifying Martin Lawrence, Ashton Kutcher CG thing, but somehow it's actually good. The graphics have a really nice looking, like a 2D style, like Metal Slug meets Sonic kinda. It's got a really deep but intuitive weapon system. There's a lot of freedom in how you approach the levels. I really have no idea why, but it's one of my favorite 2D platformers from this decade. Form 5 are these grindy mobobs, which I guess Badhead uses so he can grind you up and process you into patty form for his 4th of July barbecue, where he invites all the other evil robot monsters from the office. And you know, all the evil robot women cars are just sitting around silently judging his house and his pool and his family, and all the dudes gather around the grill with their genius tips on the best way to fry up cars. Do you marinate yours? No, a little bit of olive oil is all you need. Blah blah blah. What kind of charcoal is that? Yeah. But you know, Badhead is kind of a single-minded guy. He's got a little bit of Asperger's. You know, he's not really used to all the small talk. But then eventually, you know, the fireworks go off and he calms down and everything's okay. And also, Deppy was delicious with a little bit of Heinz 57 sauce. Our next form is a pair of boxing gloves, or perhaps deadly white mittens, which you can never really underestimate, because remember, all it took was some crazy dude with white mittens to punch Supersonic right in his smug face and steal all his emeralds at the beginning of Sonic 3, which technically makes Knuckles having to back him up with his fist metal crack'em more powerful than the entire Death Egg. Also, if you remember on the Boy Meets World episode when Corey went to follow Topanga to Disney World after she won the environmental essay contest, Eric, Corey's brother, walked around with a dummy of Corey to pretend that the dummy actually was Corey, and the dummy worked because it had a pair of fuzzy blue mittens, which for that episode were apparently Corey Matthews' trademark handwear. Also, while at Disney World, Corey meets Dana from Step by Step, who uses a dolphin to give him a potent metaphor about his relationship with Topanga. You see, Corey and Topanga's relationship had been on the rocks recently, and Corey was dating a string of girls and accidentally calling them Topanga, so he thought it'd be a good idea to try to solve their problems by following her to Disney World secretly. What I'm trying to say is that mittens are not to be underestimated. They are not a joke, and they demand our respect, or they will rise up and kill our grandmas. Fortunately, all of my grandmas are already dead, so I can kill mittens with impunity. And finally here, in his last form, Badhead creates a makeshift pair of gloves from these Reploid Badnik Koopas. Hilariously enough, his last form is his easiest form as well, since he does not use his laser, and I can step on all these dudes with one hit, and some of them even give me gas. This is actually a lot like a Sonic CD boss, in that you only have to get through the obstacles and then give him one good hit, and it's over with. Okay, now that we're done with that, one quick hit to the head, and he's... Okay, now that we're done with that, one quick hit to the head, and he... Okay, now that we're done with that, one quick hit to the head, and he is... One quick hit to the head, and he is... gone. That is Badhead. And that is the game. And thank you for watching. Good night.